Hey guys, Clumsy here, and welcome back after a long time to the Skypark series and Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that is because I found the perfect plane for this series. The Kodiak 100 from SimWorks Studios is here, as you see in front of you. In this video, we'll check out what's so special about this plane and what makes it so perfect for these kinds of flights. So let's go and load up the Skypark app first. Well, we are currently in the Philippines. That's why I have a Romeo Papa tail number in there. And we'll be delivering a, stamping tools from Kasiguran to Binalonan. Romeo Papa, Bravo, India, over there. Should be pretty short, 86 miles. But we'll probably have to go around a bit. We'll see how high these mountains go. But we'll be cruising at 12,000 feet. I believe that's flight level 120 around these parts already. And I will try and showcase as much as I can what's so special about this plane. Alright? Anyway, let's go and get things started. Inside the cockpit, everything is still off. This has a fully functional checklist, very detailed. And I try to follow it as much as I can. So let's do just that. And as you can see here, weight and balance is actually the first part of the list, because this is very important in this plane. It's not like other planes. Forget what you've learned in other planes. We cannot be complacent when it comes to this regard. We also have a fully functional, fully cargo interior in here. So you have like passenger, cargo in a mix, and even like a luxury that they call Summit interior. So different kinds of interiors you can use. But for Skypark, since we're carrying cargo, having a fully functional cargo variant is perfect. And let me show you this one. So if I have the fuel in here, if I put that in a different window so you guys can see, when we try and load things up, right, pick up stamping tools. But first, let's open the doors. And yes, everything is modeled. So you can unlock cargo. Those are two parts in here. Very nice animations. So let's load it up. You'll hear something. And as I put actual load in the aircraft, you'll actually see boxes filling up each of the sections. And that just makes it so cool. That just makes it so realistic, right? There we go. And that's fully loaded. Maybe over there. And what I did in the background there behind the scenes is basically this one. So I put in all these weights, and as I put in these weights, depending on which that section is in, the boxes appear. That just makes it so much more believable, right? 2887 kg over 3291. Looks good. And this is very important, guys. The CG. So the more aft it is, the more the center of gravity is to the back there, to the aft side, the more trim we need, the more forward trim we need. So we need forward trim, nose down trim, because that is going to play a huge part during takeoff later. I think every owner of this Kodiak 100 in the sim has had a couple of disasters during takeoff because of that thing, because it is unlike any other aircraft. It will not baby you around. And if you don't set the right trims, you will pay for it. Right, let's close the doors here. There should be a click spot over there. And we can lock all of those in. Nice. Everything is secured. Alright, let's get back here in front. Looks good. And now we can go through the checklist. And this is why weight and balance is so important and part of the checklist in there. Alright, passenger briefing. No passengers. Doors are closed and locked. Everything is secure. Now we can go and enable the master switch. You can start hearing the sounds already. Aviation bus. Also turn that on. Man, those sounds are amazing. Parking brake is set. Parking brake is all the way here. Bit sneaky, but that's this guy. When it's pulled, then it's engaged. Start hearing the fans in there. G1000 NXI integration with reversionary mode. So you see the engine instruments here while the MFD is still not working. But when you press that, then it moves to the normal mode. Very nice. AHR is still aligning. Keep wings level. Looks good. Engine inlet we don't really need at the moment. We do need the fuel selector though, and this is one thing that's cool. It'll actually light up here. When both fuel selectors are off, you probably don't want to fly with that kind of setting, because that means you don't have any fuel coming in because everything is in shut off. So put those down, the light disappears, and that's a good sign. Firewall fuel shut off. Oh my goodness, my tongue is still sleeping. Push that in. So lots of different steps here for fuel. Lots of ways to shut it off in case of emergency. If you guys are watching Missionary Bush Pilot, right, Ryan? Cut off, pull off, shut off. Those three for the fuel. Alright, but yes, emergency power lever, that's normal. Power lever is idle. The propeller, let's put that in feather mode. Fuel condition lever is in cutoff. The red knob there for the condition lever flaps is 0. Circuit breakers are all pushed. Oh, but one thing, and this is like a hack. Yeah, you can see my FPS. It's not the best, 35, 36, and my GPU is not really maxing out. You can see it's only 64%, 54 there. But my CPU is maxing out. That is because the standby indicator in here, it is fully functional. It is super high tech. It's the most functional standby indicator I've seen. So many different features, but it is a bit of a hog in FPS at the moment. Performance wise, it's not the best. So if you're encountering problems with FPS, what you do, press Control 5 for the circuit breaker instrument view. And what you do is turn off the standby attitude here, number 3. So when you pull that, look at the FPS, okay, 42. Pull that, and voila, now 57. Yes, that's how much FPS it hogs. So for me, I'm currently flying without the standby indicator, which is okay because failures aren't modeled in here anyway. You see here we're 45, 47. If I put that back in and then go back, it's only 36, 35, right? So I gained like 10, 11 FPS even in the cockpit view, in the original view. So let's pull that and get much better FPS. There we go. That's more like it. Alright, so that's one quick trick for you. So all pushed except the standby attitude. Alright, cabin heat, takeoff torque limit. There is something in the manual that determines what your takeoff torque should be at maximum based on the current temperatures outside and your elevation. And then you have the autopilot pre-flight check. I'm not really working on all of those at the moment, but just the critical ones. Alright, bus main and essential bus voltage is 24 volts minimum. We have 25. That looks good. We're going to start the engine now, which is the main event because of the sounds and the animations. Let's turn on the beacons. Emergency power lever is normal. Let's open the windows here. Clear prop. Alright, let's go ahead and turn on the auxiliary fuel pump. Over here, you can hear it. Ignition switch. I'm going to skip the checklist here because I'm more familiar over the sequence already. Turn on the ignition. Put the starter in low motor. Oh, hear that sound. You can see the NG rising now when it's at least 14%. You can actually start in reducing fuel by moving this to the low idle position. And you start hearing the magic, especially with the windows open. And also look at the ITT, it's spiking and then it's going down, stabilizing. That's awesome. And we have at least 52% NG. That's a good start. So now we can turn off the starter, turn off the ignition, put the aux fuel pump on standby, turn on the generator, wait a bit while that goes down, the amperage goes down, then turn on the alternator, and then we can move the propeller to the forward position. And that's a good start right there. Alright. That's looking good. That's sounding good. Alright. And I believe that should be all of these. And now we can actually turn on the auxiliary bus as well, because the auxiliary bus controls the air conditioning. So that opens this beautiful, amazing air conditioning system. There's a term for it, automatic climate control system or something, ACCS maybe. You get the point, but you basically turn it on. You hear the fans starting to work. And then you set a temperature. If you put this on auto, right, the fan speed will change automatically. So if I set this to 21, it actually maxes the fan so that it gets colder the fastest possible time. Let's turn on the cooling in here. And another cool thing, I believe, I'm not sure if I can simulate it. So it's currently 25 degrees outside. If I open this, it should, yeah, look at that. So the cabin temperature kind of normalizes. So you're kind of making the air conditioning and the outside air battle now, right? So when I, for example, turn off the air conditioning and just open the door, you can see cabin temperature rising because it's now going to go towards the outside air temperature. Now it's 25, right? And when I close the doors, lock them, now there's no more leak. Now we can turn those on and cool the aircraft again. Such nice attention to detail. This is what makes this plane so special. So many of these little tidbits in the cockpit is fully interactable. Even have a coffee cup holder in there. So cool, so cool. Alright, let me plug in the flight plan in here and I'll be right back, because you guys probably know how this works already. This is the G1000 NXI that's available in most of the other planes out there from Working Title. Okay, all set. That's looking great. Although the weather outside, not the best at the moment, guys. You can see in our MFD here, we have NextRad on, and yeah, pretty heavy weather in the vicinity. Although in our current flight path, actually looks pretty good. So I think we're still lucky from that end. Alright, so I've programmed it in. Heading has also been adjusted. I have not adjusted the altitude yet, nor the QNH here in this area. So let's adjust that. It should be 39 feet outside this elevation, so that should be good. 1012 looks like a proper QNH. We don't really have a weather system in here, a weather radar or anything in this area. Sorry, my words are failing me at the moment. You'll have to bear with me. It's a bit still early for my brain, but we'll get there, okay? We'll get there. Release the parking brake. There you go. Test the brakes. They're working. Perfect. Alright. Let's go ahead and taxi here. And let's go through the checklist. Alright. Parking brake, we'll set that in a bit. We'll have to do a back taxi here towards the runway. Should be this one. Yeah. Seat belts are secured. Inertia reel levers. Is it this one? Might be, yeah, for the shoulder harness. It's basically like additional safety for the seat belt. Engage that during takeoff and landing. Alright, everything is stowed. Flight controls are free. Yes, and correct. Looks good. Let's go and check this one. Fuel selectors are on. Shutoff valve is open. Fuel quantity is halfway in the halfway mark. Looks good. Flap set for takeoff. That's flaps 20. Oh, and I wanted to highlight that because this is amazing, this level of detail. Like, look at how the flaps adjust. You actually have that, like, I'm not sure how you call it, but it rotates based on that. So it extends and then it rotates. It pivots, that one, right? But just that level of detail is amazing. Okay, but yes, for takeoff, I want flaps 20 in here. So that's 10, 20, 35. Flaps 20 is what we want. And that should be aligned right there. So the flaps should be aligned near the whatever you call this thing. That's for landing where it's below, and that's for takeoff where it's aligned, and when it's up, should be above that line. That's how I indicate it, because right now there is a limitation. There is no indication of flaps, right? When you set this thing, normally there should be on the MFD here over on this side the flaps indication to confirm, but there is not, so you have to really look outside for now and confirm it. So that's just another safety precaution. Alright, let's turn on our strobes, landing lights, turn that on, move it to pulse. Looks good. Let's go in taxi. Flaps are good. Oh, the trims guys. Yes, as we are doing back taxi, let's do that. So this is the most important in my opinion, because if you set this wrong, then it's a recipe for disaster. Okay, 1 second. Alright, we're on the runway now. It's clear, so we have time. So we have 3 kinds of trims here. Aileron, which we don't really need to adjust most of the time. That's over here. The rudder trim is very, very important. And that's adjustable here, or you can map it to your key bindings. So I have it mapped, so I'm just going to apply right rudder, like around 30 to 50% would be good for takeoff. So let me show you. You can see the rudder trim moving to the right there, right? Yeah, that one. If you didn't see it, it's not in the middle anymore, so somewhere like there, and that's very, very important, right? That also depends on the winds. Requires a bit of getting used to. And don't forget the stabilizer trim, right? Now there should be an indication for that stab trim here in the MFD, same area where the flaps should be. It's not yet modeled in the G1000 NXI. So right now what SimWorks Studios did, the developers of this plane, they actually were pretty smart about it. And what they did was to 1 second, let me just align myself here, runway 5, yes. Was they put a white line on the trim itself, the trim wheel itself. So if you look over there, yeah, that line. So that when it's vertical up, that's 0. And if you want forward or nose down trim, then you put it something like this. I find putting it like that for takeoff more or less is good, but it depends how your CG is. So the CG will play a huge role. The more aft you are, so right now we're at 30%, so maybe I should put more. The more aft you are, when you're 40% is the maximum limit, how aft the CG is, the more forward you want this. And I think it goes up to that point is the maximum. I would say that one would be good for us. Yeah, let's see. Alright, anyway, let's hope that's enough. Fortunately, it's a bit of a trial and error at that aspect. Okay, I think we are good there. Power lever is idle. Inertial separator we don't need. Okay, looks good. Avionics, CDI, everything is set. Annunciations, yes. Only engine inlet normal. Strobes are on. Parking brake is released. And now it's time for the takeoff. Flaps are 20 degrees. Elevator trim, that's what I was mentioning. Power lever set for takeoff. 1 second, one thing is missing. This one, yes. It's because it's below. Prop RPM lever is max RPM, and very important, go to high idle for takeoff. When you're about to go flying, you go to high idle, you hear the idle going higher. Indeed. And we take off at, we rotate at around 65 knots for safety, okay? Alright, here we go guys, wish me luck because I am not a master of this yet. pushing forward the throttle here, holding the brakes. I'm looking at my torque in the MFD, making sure it doesn't go to the red line. Alright, that should be good. You can see the plane struggling. Alright, let's release the brakes. Alright, it's kind of pushing to the left, but the rudder trim is taking effect immediately. That's good. Airspeed's alive. Alright, that's looking good. Looking pretty good. 65 knots. Let's start pulling back just very, very subtly. There we go. Ah, that was perfect. Yes. It doesn't often go that smooth, guys. It doesn't often go that smooth. I am pretty happy with that takeoff, because if you have bought this plane yourself, you will know that is one of a kind. That doesn't happen very often. Yeah. Oh my goodness, we have such heavy clouds in here in the vicinity. Alright, 400 feet. Let's start pulling up the flaps. 85 knots. Still have flaps 10, but let me turn here first. Clear the clouds before we worry about anything else. There we go, looking good. Man. And yes, the hand flying experience is nothing I have ever experienced before, because this one really, you have to pay a lot of attention, especially to the rudder trim, something you have to constantly adjust. Even if you turn on autopilot, you will need to focus on the rudder trim, which is pretty realistic to real life. With a single engine turboprop like this that has such a powerful horsepower, I believe this plane has 750 shaft horsepower, you really need to be on top of the rudder trim in different phases of flight. Okay, let's pull up the flaps there. Alright, flaps are fully up. Looks good. We trim here. And pay close attention throughout the entire flight on this rudder trim, on the slip indicator here. Right? The idea is these should be aligned, because if it looks like this, I just do it like that. Yeah, the triangle and the bar, that means I'm not flying coordinated. That means I'm losing a lot of power. I'm wasting a lot of power. It's not the ideal scenario. Okay. So throughout the flight, while climbing, while on cruise, that will change, and I will have to adjust my rudder trim all throughout the flight. And this is something that you have to manage, whether you're hand flying or you're on autopilot. Right, we are on course here now. Looks pretty good. Just the heading bug looks good, and I'm still hand flying because it just feels so good. And you can also hear, yes, the elevator trim. When you probably have your trim mapped to your controls. Yes, that is also the sound you're hearing. Very nice. And also you can see, as you climb, as the angle of attack goes higher, you need more right rudder. Which there is some physics involved there. Don't ask me to explain it, please, but just believe the slip indicators. So you see, we are flying so uncoordinated now. We're losing airspeed. We're not really flying optimally here. So I will move my right rudder or rudder trim to the right. Bit by bit, one by one. You can see the slip indicator getting closer and closer, right? Just very subtly. And let's maybe pull back a bit. There it is. Now it's on the center. So yes, you will look a lot at that slip indicator, because we can't really feel the plane ourselves, right? The best feeling we will get is the visual indications of it. So we focus there instead. Okay, looks good. Oh, we're actually too much right rudder now. So yes, you will have to adjust that a lot. But it's amazing. The feel is amazing. I hope I can convey that to you. It's hard to describe, and it's hard to show how great the feeling is, but it's definitely not like any other plane I've flown before. It's just so it requires a lot of care. Requires tons of care. Right, that looks good. So we're pretty heavy here. So yes, this is the first plane I've flown that really has a huge dependence on the weight and center of gravity. So that weight and balance that we did in the beginning of the flight, that is critical to the safety of the flight itself. If you set that wrong, no matter how good of a pilot you are, you will stall, you will crash. So that is important to always consider. Anyway, very nice. Alright, let's go through the checklist, make sure I didn't miss anything. Set for takeoff, yes. Engine instruments, yes, everything is in the green here. We can actually push forward on the throttle a bit. No, but actually that's good because we will need to pull back on the RPM. You can see during climb, aux fuel pump, yes, is in standby. Pitot-static heaters when it's less than 5 degrees, that actually automatically warns you. If the outside air temperature goes to 5 degrees or lower, you will see a warning here so that you turn on your pitot heat. Very, very smart design. So we don't need that at the moment. Engine inlet, we are passing through some clouds. That might be good to do a bypass in here. That's the equivalent for the inertial separator in the TBM. That helps you avoid any foreign object damage, FOD. So when there's moisture outside, there are rocks, there are birds in the vicinity, you turn that on. That moves like a lever inside the engine, inside the intake, so that the air is going through, but other objects have a less likelihood of going to your engine. Alright, torque, yes, torque is okay, but here we go, prop RPM. So after you take off, the best practice is setting the RPM to 2000, and for that we'll need to pull back on the throttle lever here, the RPM lever rather. You can hear it changing, you can see the RPM changing in here as well, right? 22,000, and that adjusts the plane behavior significantly. So I'll need to trim again, I'll need to adjust my power again. So that's 2000 RPM. Definitely the sound of the plane changed. Let's continue our climb to 12,000. Not that steep though. Going through some clouds, should be fine, just a little. So 2000 RPM, and now we can push forward on the torque significantly more. Because as we climb, the torque lowers, and as we climb, the limits on the plane, it's no longer torque limited, right? You've probably heard this before. If you haven't, you have 3 possible limits. You're limited by either the torque, the ITT, which is the temperature of the turbine inside the engine, basically, or the NG. So you have 3 limits: torque, ITT, or NG. And in different phases of the flight, you will have more likelihood of limiting one of those. So on the ground, you're often torque limited. When you start getting higher and higher, climbing higher, you are more or less probably ITT or NG limited. So let's see what limits we have right now. What will reach the peak first? You can see the ITT is getting closer. Yeah, we are near the yellow line now. If you watch Missionary Bush Pilot, he advises ITT 720 during the climb, but that's in Papua New Guinea. So you can see the NG is reaching the red line already. So we are NG limited for this particular flight, for this particular phase. Yeah, all of those are modeled in. I don't think any actual engine failures are modeled though. No hot starts, no engine failures or whatnot. So that's, I hope, something that can get implemented eventually. Let's go ahead and release the harness. Oh, this is just like real life. The loose sun visor. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And yeah, the reason I wanted to go higher like this is to also show that there is an oxygen system simulated. I don't think you need to put in the hose. I think we put in the oxygen through here for the pilot, and that one's for the co-pilot. You put the hose there. This plane is not pressurized, right? So you need the oxygen, what do you call it, pipes. So we connect that there, and then you connect the other end to your nose and you breathe through there. But you also need to turn on the oxygen system, and as we're reaching 10,000 feet here, getting closer and closer, let's go ahead and turn on the oxygen system right there. You can see the oxygen level. And what's cool about this is that actually changes. That actually depletes over time. And the rate at which it depletes is equivalent to depending on how many passengers you have. And the plane basically detects how many passengers you have based on your weight. The settings you put in the weight and balance, right? So if you have the passenger variant in here, you'll see passengers as you put in weight on those seats, and they will actually consume oxygen a lot faster. And that's just, yeah, all these, right? All these interactions, it increases the immersion is the most important thing at the end of the day. So we have air conditioning system, 21 degrees, the climate control, and what's more, you can actually adjust. It's a bit hot in here. Let's put that there. We're in the Philippines. It's always hot, right? Let's put that there. Or maybe sometimes it's cold. Oh, close that. Yeah, close this air conditioning. The vents, right? That just that level of detail is so amazing to have. Right, let's maybe not climb that steep. I'm still hand flying here just because I want to get used to it. I'm still pretty new to the plane, and still need to learn the ropes basically. Okay, but now, yeah, you can see as we get this high, torque is no longer an issue. We're way in the middle of the green range, but we are NG limited. We're maxing out on the NG, so that's as much as we can pull in. That's as much power as we can coax out from this plane. So climbing at around 100 knots. Actually, NG is getting a bit higher. Let's pull back a bit. So monitoring those readings, making sure everything is good. Engine, oil pressure, oil temperature, all in the green. The amperage in the green as well for the generator and the alternator. What is this thing? The 25. I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. Not sure what that is, that 25. Yeah, I'll have to check. Yep. Okay, and now we're reaching flight level 1200. Actually, 11,000 is the transition altitude. Let's move to standard altimeter here. Right, let's level off at 12,000. 120, and this is what I want to show you. So I haven't touched my rudder trim yet, aside from a while ago while we were climbing. I kept moving it to the right. Now we're done climbing. Now the angle of attack, the attitude of the plane. We're no longer facing up, right? Nose is no longer up. Nose is now level. Look at how it looks. The slip indicator. Look at the slip indicator, guys. Right? That is so cool, because during cruise, you now have to move your rudder to the left, rudder trim to the left. You don't need as much right rudder anymore. And if you watch Missionary Bush Pilot, if you watch other videos, like even like Steve Okinivo, who flies a TBM, but most of these single turboprop planes with such high horsepower, you will have this kind of requirement because the engine is just so powerful that the plane has to adjust accordingly. Right, so I'm applying a bit of left rudder trim bit by bit, and now we are flying coordinated again. Now I'm trimming the elevator. You can hear the buttons. Oh, we have someone flying there. Misfit. Hey, Misfit. What's an FA-18E? Is that the new military jet that was released with Sim Update 7, I think? Or was it 6? Cool. I hope he's not coming for us. Oh, and one thing I forgot to turn off was the landing lights. Yeah, landing lights are off. And engine inlet bypass, we don't need that anymore. Now what I'm not sure of is if the engine inlet bypass affects performance. I expect it should, but I don't really know how it works in real life, how in this plane. It doesn't work exactly the same as the inertial separator in the TBM. So if you have more info on that, guys, let me know. There's a manual. The manual is pretty good for starting off. It doesn't have all those details, but it's very nice. Now, in terms of the price, if I remember correctly, I believe it's 29.99 euros if you buy this from the official site of SimWorks Studios. Anyway, it should be available in the mods list. As always, the link where I bought this from. I bought this directly from SimWorks Studios. That's, I think, the cheapest place where you can get it from. And I believe it will eventually be in the in-game marketplace as well. But to be honest, I try and stay away from there as much as I can. It's just the wild west there in the in-game marketplace. Lots of issues still not yet polished, so stay away from it for now on my end. Okay, so how fast are we cruising? I'm just trying to trim here because we are atop mountain, so it's quite a bit sketchy. We have updrafts and downdrafts all the way here. There we go, now we're trimmed. Very nice. So I let my yoke go fully, hands free. Oh, we're still a bit trimming up. But yeah, this is the joy of flying this plane. So many things to adjust, so many things to do. Even when you have autopilot on, which we don't yet. But I'll turn that on later so I can take some photos. This is so nice. Alright, weather looks good. Nothing on the next ride at least. You have some beautiful mountains below. Oh, look at that view. Nice. And yes, you have some wing views. I set up some custom views here. There it is. Look at that. Very nice. Over here too. And if you want a view of our cargo, there you go. That's why I put more boxes in front, more load in front, and less on the back here, so that the CG won't be too much to the aft. Right, so you need to really take care of your weight and balance. And look at that. Yes, we are trimmed, more or less. Very nice. Okay, so yes, I'll take you guys back later. I'll just enjoy this for now on my own. Maybe take some photos. I'll bring you guys back when we are closer. I think I've babbled on long enough. Catch you guys in a bit. Man, that looks so good. I have no idea where that is, but that view, right? Welcome back, guys. Starting our descent here, just 1,000 feet per minute. Just getting past those mountains now. Pretty close to our destination. Should be 20 miles actually. So the plan is to fly over it, fly over the runway. We'll have a look at the situation, how the winds are there, and then based on that I will be putting in an approach. There's no real IFR approach for the airport, but we do have with the G1000 NXI these fancy visual approaches. If I go to procedures here, select approach, I actually have an option of going visual 1.7 or 3.5. So even if there is no instrument approach, the G1000 NXI can make one for you, like a pseudo instrument approach. Not really based on any obstacle clearance or whatever, but it's a good guide for like how high you should be, where you should be. So it will draw an extended runway center line for you, and it will control and guide your altitude as you descend and do that approach. So very, very nifty. I've done that a couple of times with the PC6 as we were on that Appalachian tour, if you've watched any of the previous streams. So that's a very, very handy tool there, especially when it's an airport that you're not familiar with, one of those hard to find airports. Speaking of hard to find airports, let's have a look here. I think what I can do is I can actually look at how that airport looks like. Okay, so this is like a bird's eye view of that airport. That's the runway, looks like 1.7 and 3.5 indeed. 2,900 feet of concrete, unlit, no worries. Pretty good weather outside. But yeah, there is this kind of gray thing here next to the town, and then the runway is in between, so we'll see if we can spot any of those. Alright, we'll see. Let's pull back a little on the throttle. That should be good. We can make do with that. Let's have a look in front. Maybe we can be lucky and see it. Not really. Alright, so I'll keep on this, and when we get closer, we'll see how it goes. You guys see the airport yet? I don't. Well, we'll see it eventually, because we are actually 4 miles away from it. So, how far is 4 miles, guys? Maybe it's that thing? It really is hard to see, isn't it? Okay, anyway, we'll be flying over it. Let's go to heading mode here, just to be on the safe side. So I'm not sure what the autopilot will do after we've crossed the airport. And also we have the range to altitude indicator, that arc there. So we will be at the altitude we selected, which is just 2,000 feet at that point. Which is a bit late in my opinion, so I should maybe pull back on the power. It may be a good time to push forward the RPMs as well. Get back to full forward. You can hear the RPM changing back to 2,200, that's okay. We'll be safer in case we have to do a go around. Okay, pull back on the power here. Get into the flap extension range, which is very nice here. You can see 138 for flaps 10, 120 for flaps 20, and 108 for flaps 35. So you won't forget, it's actually written for you. Go to flight idle, and we should be right above the airport. Let's have a look outside. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Okay, how are the winds like here? 077. Let's go for a 035 or a runway 35 approach. Okay, visual 35. Let's go for a straight in landing. Minimums, let's put in maybe 500 feet, just so we have a reference that we are at 500 feet. Okay, and then I think after that point you should actually, yeah, it's a bit confusing. Alright, when you press enter, it should go to this activate page already, so you just press enter. Not sure why it doesn't do that yet. G1000 NXI things, I think. There you go. Alright, that looks good. Let's go and fly manually from here. Why not, right? Why not? Let's turn off the autopilot, turn off yaw damper, turn off the flight director. Let's fly this on our own. We do have some guidance though, so that's good. Alright. Let's turn to the right here. Where's that waypoint leading us? Alright, so it's asking us to turn around. Yes, that looks perfect. Okay, let's follow it. I'm good with that. We are well within the flap extension range. Let's go flaps 10. Okay, good. Let's level up at 2,000 feet. And we will follow. Oh, look at this Misfit. Misfit is actually close to us. You can see him right in front of us. The FA-18. Hopefully he's not planning to intercept. Hopefully not. Alright. Well within the flap extension range as well for flaps 20. 120 knots, right? Let's go with that. There we go. Oh, there he is. Hello there. Super cool. His angle of attack is pretty high though, isn't it? Alright. Let's go and follow that in. Let me put this on runway 35 so I have a guidance, the heading bug at least. There we go. I am below 2,000 feet, that's okay. Make it 1,000 feet, right? Why not? There's the runway, I believe. That should be it. But yeah, this kind of approach really just helps get more awareness into where you're going, especially when it's these hard to find strips. This one is actually not that bad, right? It's a proper runway. It's not just an airstrip, a grass airstrip or anything. Right rudder trim. We are a bit slow at the moment. Let me trim it properly. There it is. Let's get some airspeed in here. Yeah, there's the runway for sure. Oh, that is beautiful. Surrounded by mountains. Man, I miss the Philippines. It's been, what, 2 years since I was able to go back home because of this entire thing we have. So this is the best I can do for now. Fly home virtually. I will take that. Alright. Can I turn yet? I think we'll have to follow it a bit. Fine, let's follow the flight plan. It might be a sharp turn though. Alright, it adjusted now. Nice. Let's turn. Let me apply a little bit of left rudder to counteract that adverse yaw. Looks good. There's the runway. Okay, nice. Right, let's go full flaps. Do we have everything? Have landing lights on? Let's turn on the taxi lights. Everything is on. The harnesses are locked. Yes. Fuel. So a gumps check. Gas. Everything is on. Undercarriage. Yes. Gear is always down. Mixture. We have idle. Props are full forward. Switches. Landing lights. Yes. Looks good. Taxi lights. Everything looks good. We have the engine bypass as well on. Alright. Perfect. And our approach speed will be around 80 knots ideally. So we're a bit fast. So let's adjust for that a bit. And you can see in the PFD, guys, we have this glide path, right? That magenta diamond, which helps guide us on the approach.
500.
To show if we are too high or too low. 500 feet, check. Looks good. Alright. Looking good. Wind's coming from the right, so we have a bit of crosswind in here. Should be fine. Bit low. Bit wobbly. Let's apply a bit of right rudder trim. There we go. Okay. Looking good. Keep it steady. Looks like a bit of displaced threshold in there. 75 knots. That's okay. That looks good actually. Keep it steady. Oh, it's a very short runway, huh? Yeah. Let's probably land properly here. Don't float. Okay. Going to idle. Decrabbing. I'll take it. I'll take it. Reversers. Right aileron to counteract the crosswind. And there we go. Beautiful. Okay. So might have to work on that landing a bit for smoother landings, but in terms of safety, I'll take a firm landing any day as long as I don't go beyond the runway, right? Turn off the strobes, turn off the landing lights. Taxi lights are on already. Okay, looks good. What is that? Oil pressure low. Why? What happened? Oh, that's dangerous actually. Instead of just going to low idle, that actually extended to cutoff. That's pretty dangerous. Okay, so I kind of made a boo-boo there, guys, because when I went from high to low idle, looks like it went beyond. That's a watch out for you. But looks like we're stopping here then. Yeah, the guy is not happy about that. Let's turn off the oxygen as well. I forgot to turn that off. Now we can start shutting things off. Yeah, looks good. Not the best shutdown sequence, but we work with what we have. Let's see where we ended up. At least we didn't end up in the runway. We cleared it. Right, somewhere here. I'd have to look at that replay to see why that lever moved so much more. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and turn off our power in here. Turn off the lights as well. Looks good there. Let's open the doors and unload this cargo. Let's go back here, open the doors, and start unloading. Deliver that. So you can see, let me show you here live. So as we remove that cargo, the boxes disappear one by one. You can even make that like just a little bit less, so the boxes are still there but less stacked. Right, there we go. Now we got paid and now it's clear. That's pretty cool, right? Oh, I love that immersion. And now we got paid. Awesome, great job. It says they didn't notice that we actually didn't reach the ramp. Cool. All right, so let's leave it there, guys. Wow, almost 1 hour. Goodness, I had fun. Hopefully you did too. Let me know what you think about this plane. Oh, this is my absolute favorite, and I'm hoping to make more videos with this one. So let me know if you did enjoy and if you want more. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. And if you have suggestions on the flight, on the format, let me know, okay? Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Clumsy flying, and bye-bye.